All right, we're going to get going. First of all, welcome to AutoCarto 2022. We're going to do a few things in the opening. We're going to do a few things in the opening session. We're going to hear from people who are representing International Cartographic Association, Cartography and Geographic Information Society, which is the society that puts on this conference. We're going to hear about some special events from Esri. Since you're here on our Esri campus, we'd like you to know that you can avail yourself of these opportunities and a few other tidbits. But I want to start things off by, well, first I'll introduce myself. I'm Aileen Buckley. I'm a conference co-chair. I'm sad to report that my co-chair is currently in the hospital, Dan Cole, but kudos to Dan for all the work that he also did on this conference. I'm a research cartographer here at Esri. I am on the Living Atlas of the World team. And as I mentioned, I'll start by acknowledging that CAGIS is the organizer of this conference. And it's endorsed by the ICA. It's also an ICA regional cartographic conference for the first time in its history. Oh, and of course, I can't not mention that Esri is hosting this event here on our beautiful campus here in Redlands. And we're deeply indebted to our sponsors. We have two gold sponsors, the U.S. Geological Survey and UCLA Geospatial Program. Our silver sponsors are the United States Census Bureau and the Taylor and Francis Publishing Group. We have bronze sponsors from University of Redlands, Virginia Tech's College of Natural Resources and Environment, and the UCGIS, University Consortium for Geographic Information Science. We have a contributing sponsor, which is the Department of Geography at University of Georgia. And we have two in-kind sponsors, the American Society for Photogrammetry and Remote Sensing, as well as the International Map Industry Association. So thank you to our sponsors, who all have representatives here, except for one. So you'll see their sponsor tables in the foyer, in the lobby area. Please take a look at their content that's on their tables and also meet with their representatives. I thought it might help to give you just a little brief history of AutoCarto. Some of you, like Nick Chrisman and others, have probably been to the great majority of them. But let me just tell the rest of you a little bit about this conference. It started in 1974, which was about 15 years after the advent of automated cartography. And it was dubbed the International Cartography Conference on Automation and Cartography. And it brought together people who were working in that area from government, academia, and research and private industry. Surprisingly to some, the symposium series was laid to rest in '97 because, as one of the previous conference chairs told me, they had believed they solved the problem of automating cartography. By that time, about 13 symposia had been held, but other things were also happening. And maybe this helped to justify shutting down the conference. By then, AM/FM, Automated Mapping and Facilities Management, began in 1978, and it became GIS/LIS, Land Information Systems, in the mid-1990s. And then also GI Science emerged in 2000. That was a conference that was put on by the National Center for Geographic Information and Analysis, NCGIA. And that was put on 12 years after NCGIA received its first multi-million grant in 1988. Also in 1997, the Esri User Conference was relocated to San Diego to accommodate the growing number of attendees, which had climbed to about 6,000. So all that was happening. And in the meantime, CAGIS was the second largest member of an umbrella organization to which it belonged called the American Congress on Surveying and Mapping. And by the in the early 2000s, the cartographers in the organization started feeling a little bit marginalized, actually a little bit more than marginalized by the growing contingent of surveyors in that organization. So they were getting a little outnumbered and their voices weren't being heard as much as they wanted to be heard. So consequently, in 2005, when I became president of CAGIS, we decided to secede from ACSM and we became an independent organization. And at that time, we resurrected the AutoCarto conference in recognition that cartography and GI science continue to evolve and that researchers are continually presented with new challenges. Now, the name is outdated, we know. The CAGIS board is working on that, but it does have a legacy that the name is associated with. So when you hear about CAGIS's conferences in the future, listen for the conference information and equate it to the AutoCarto history. Okay, so then, as of 2018, so that was before pandemic, another 8 conferences had been held, and they continued to bring together researchers from across the world, primarily in those 3 arenas, government, academia, and the private sector. And they were working in GI science and cartography, and often at the crossroads of the two. Then, prompted by the global pandemic, AutoCarto 2020 was held completely online, which brings us to AutoCarto 2022. And AutoCarto 2022, as you know, is being held here in the beautiful Southern California location of Esri's main campus. So we have a very timely theme, which is ethics and mapping. And we're talking about integrity, inclusion, and empathy. You'll see three keynote speakers, 9 panelists, 52 presentations in 12 sessions, 142 authors, and yesterday we had 6 workshops. So a quick review of the past AutoCarto conferences reveals how important these were. At its inception, AutoCarto was the only event to bring together people working in automated cartography and, coincidentally, the early development of GIS. And evidently, there were a lot of people working in these arenas who did want to meet with others, hear about their other people's work, and share their own. For example, the 4th AutoCarto conference in 1979 had a record of 870 participants, and nearly all the giants, people who would come to be giants in GIS, were in attendance, including Jack Dangerman. Now compare this to the first Esri User Conference, which was held 2 years later in 1981 with 16 users. I think I got that right, didn't I, Clint?
That's an overestimate, I think.
Okay, Clint thinks maybe there were 11 users in attendance. But anyway, we'll move on. CAGIS has also undertaken the archiving of all AutoCarto proceedings. They are in the AutoCarto archives on the CAGIS website. It's a treasure trove of early work in GIS. So people who are working in research may want to access that. So that brings us to this year's event. And we're going to hear from Jack.
Hello, my name is Jack Dangerman, and it's my great pleasure to welcome all of you here to Esri, those of you who are physically here, and also those of you who are connected virtually. You know, this conference is quite important. It is the longest running international symposium for cartography and GIS in a quantitative sense, quantitative geography. It started in 1994, and it has been rich as a convening of great people and great minds thinking about the future of what our field really represents its applications. I like it because it is inclusive by nature. It has many different disciplinary backgrounds that have come together. And this notion of being together, sharing, learning from each other, really launched so many of the other professional activities and their applications with GIS. It brings together an interesting crowd. It is international. Some of you are in public service, others in NGOs, and still others in commercial private sector organizations. It also has a foundation in the rich academic world of research and science and progressing what we do. The purpose is actually to be together and talk and meet. And I like this forum, learning from each other and advancing our general profession. It's not just a social nicey-nicey, it's really intending to, in various ways, advance our field. Let me close by saying a couple words about the theme of this conference, ethics. This is all about inclusion and empathy. It's all about understanding where we're going with this technology so that it becomes a new language across the world. And emphasizing these terms, we'll all learn from the discussions that are going to be presented here by various professionals. This is important, particularly at this time in our history when we have so much disinformation going around, particularly in the whole social media world. I think it will progressively move from here outward into professionals' activities, and I'm very hopeful that it will make a difference in significant ways. So once again, let me say thank you for being here. I wish we could all be physically together, but I know that's impossible. We'll do it again one of these days, perhaps the next AutoCarto. Thank you again.
So I think Jack got that one date wrong because I wrote it down wrong for him. So don't blame him. I'd like to introduce another colleague from Esri here now, and this is Clint Brown. He's my manager's manager. He's head of the software products division, which is the division within which the Living Atlas of the World lies. So Clint, if you could come on up here. I really need to acknowledge how much he supported having this conference here on this campus. Without his support, I don't think it would have happened. He went to bat with us for us with Jack. He smoothed the way in many ways, and I want to thank him by offering him this bottle of Pinot Noir from New Zealand.
Oh, thank you.
Aptly named Map Maker.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Screw cap so we can drink it right after this. Prior to COVID, I guess we could pass it around, but not anymore. Well, welcome to Redlands and to Esri. How many of you this is your first time to visit our campus? That's incredible. That's really cool. There's a couple of places. I don't know if you've gone on a tour, but if you haven't visited, there's a GIS library that Jack set up in the very first building that we occupied on this site. The big building where our software development teams are housed is on the left side of the road. When I moved here and started here in 1983, that was a Southern California Edison equipment yard. And things have, this building was in the middle of an orange grove. Actually, it wasn't here. It took over what the orange grove was. So it's a pretty interesting place and kind of continues to grow and expand outward, especially through the pandemic. I think for a lot of people, it's really a new place. So, what's interesting about this meeting is really it's about communicating transformative thinking about cartography and geographic information, that GI science that we all think about. In the conference theme this year, Ethics in Mapping, is a really big deal. A few years ago at the conference, Jack was on a panel with Jim Fallows and I like getting old. I'm gonna forget. Gary Nell, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Gary. And these guys were just having a conversation about what's going on. And the topic that came up was about, you know, kind of this lack of reality about how some people live their lives and represent things in the world. And Jack made a comment, he says, he didn't think that the geospatial community would get into that approach to things. But actually, I think it's something that we all have to be looking for and guarding against and proposing and demonstrating kind of best practices for how to share information. And you know, among that, one of the things that's really interesting about what's going on these days in the geospatial communities is how much mapping is expanding. If you look at where maps were 10 years ago and before, the idea of digital maps, they were really kind of static documents. And there's many maps that are still that, these beautiful works of art, beautiful tools for communication and access to information. But that idea that that map was static kind of was the world that we used to live in. These days, in this modern era with web computing, web GIS, community content, maps have now started to live and become interactive. And that idea that you can have a map display, and it's not just the map itself anymore, it's what you can reach through and kind of pull forward up out of that map. Or it's new layers that you can add, or updated information that can be added to it. And that world of interactive mapping, I think, is one of those interesting trends that I hope you're able to see a lot of that this week. ArcGIS Online has over 50 million items in it now. One of the things that's always been true about the geospatial community is everybody, in the early days, we'd wrestle with data. And we always needed somebody else's data. And that was some of the early work that everybody was doing, was kind of building the OpenGIS consortium, creating spatial data infrastructures, metadata catalogs of information for sharing. Now all those information items, or many of them, are alive. They live on the web. You can pull them into your map and you can work with them. And that kind of paradigm is shifting. So it's not that the traditional cartographic techniques are going away, but this online live mapping actually starts to shatter some of the traditional cartographic rules, like choropleth mapping versus this ability to just really interact with the data and explore it is really a new opportunity for how we deliver information. And what we've started to see is maps have become apps. It started with Google Maps in the mid-2000s, but that quickly grew. You know, the first thing, what is the first thing we all did with Google Maps? Zoomed in on our house, right? What's the second thing we did? Peeked in our neighbors' backyards. The third thing we did is we mashed something up. The first principle of GIS is this kind of integration and that ability to pull things together. And that started this trend. You know, it was all consumer maps, and people were doing things like searching for a highly rated restaurant or business, mapping their way to that business on the maps. But that pattern has emerged as becoming an incredibly powerful tool that you guys, I think, understand very deeply about and are doing things to kind of bring that to life. And it's based on your information. So if you think about those 50 million items in ArcGIS Online, that's coming from about 350,000 organizations across the planet. Probably half of those are named TEST or FOO. So that still leaves a lot of information for people to use. But what's really interesting about those items is about half of those are shared information items. In other words, if you know the URL to an information item and you have access to it, you can put it to work. So about little over 20% of those items are shared without any restriction. Everybody has access. Another up to 30% are shared by groups and communities of practice. So wildlife biologists and conservationists will share information just with each other about species at risk, but they won't open it up for everybody for obvious reasons. But that idea about this new pattern for GIS really speaks to the idea of the theme of this conference and how important and essential that is as being kind of a founding principle for what we work on and how we move forward. So, you know, some of the things that we do at Esri, I just wanted to show this one map. There's this map for something called Wildfire Aware, which is just an amazing app. It's a shame that there's not a time for a demo, but I think we'll be able to see some of those things throughout the week. The other thing that's going on here is this idea, this kind of new notion for GIS as a web platform where information is shared across real specific communities and also real general communities. We've just talked about it as, you know, this new modern interactive mapping is kind of modern GIS, just to kind of distinguish one of the big trends that's taking place. And one of the things we've done is we've developed a curriculum. It's about, I think, 20 hours of classroom activities and then follow-on exercises and tutorials for doing things. But this is really interesting. I think, Angie, I don't know if you're going to talk about this at all this week, but so this is Angela Lee, who runs our education team for higher ed and K-12. So that's really great. So I just want to give a shout out to this as something interesting as what we've been trying to work on. So anyway, my job is really to welcome you here, just to say a few things that are maybe interesting and maybe useful for you. And my real job is to introduce a real dear friend of mine. Is Tim Trainer, who's the former chief of the geography division at the Census Bureau and a longtime member and participant and leader in this organization and many other organizations. So welcome Tim to come up. Thank you.
Thanks, Clint, and I'm really looking forward to sharing the wine with you. I think this is going to be a great thing. Well, thanks everyone, and it's a real pleasure and an honor for the International Cartographic Association to be here. We actually have 4 members of our executive committee here at AutoCarto 2022. Thomas Schultz just arrived in the wee hours of the morning. He's our Secretary General, and you're going to hear from him shortly. We have Lee Q and Terrier, who are vice presidents of our association, and so I'm really pleased that they are here and have been participating in the events and will participate in the event. The ICA is definitely pleased to endorse this event. We see this as a really important event, as Jack indicated and as Clint indicated, and as obviously through the history that Aileen provided to us. The strength of the ICA really falls into three categories for us. It's really about the people. We have lots of commissions and working groups. We have conferences that we put on, and you can see that AutoCarto is listed here. And there's a whole series of publications, and we're actually following the lead of some of the other national journals like CAGES, and CAGES is really an international journal, as well as the British Cartographic Society's publications and those of Canada. Two recent publications, and we actually had a meeting on this yesterday on the children's cartography. So that's a hallmark for the ICA, where we have a competition among children around the world, and they submit maps based on a certain theme. And I think it's a good look into the minds and hearts of children and what's important to them. And so I would encourage you, if you ever have a chance to see one of these publications, to take advantage of it. Another recent publication that I'm really proud of, and I think it is just beginning in its purpose, and that's the Mapping for a Sustainable World. The ICA collaborated with the United Nations, and together with some of your members, Rob Roth and his team at Wisconsin, and Menoyan Kroc, and who actually served as one of the chief editors of the book. And here it is, this is the book. It's available online, so it's freely available, and the data behind it are all there, and the print files are all there. What's important about this book is that there's been an effort in the United Nations for the Sustainable Development Goals beginning in 2015 through 2030. So we're about halfway there. We have a long way to go. And so we're hoping that cartography can be one method by which people can see the value in the data. And so this is, I think, a really important contribution to making that possible. And I see this as being the beginning of a lot of activity. I wanted just to tease you with some ideas and thoughts just to think about as you go over these next 3 days. Clint indicated the data revolution that we're in, and it's clear that there's more and more data and there's more and more data types. We also have access to technology that we continue to be surprised at, and it just makes our lives easier and easier. The computing power, and as Clint indicated, I come from the Census Bureau, and I can remember buildings bigger than this that housed hardware to process data that you could do less with than you can do on your iPhone today. And then, of course, we have increasing expectations and dependence on location information. It's in the background, but we all expect it to be there. And so I think we have to think about the impacts, some of those impacts to consider as we go forward. But the key to all this is actionable cartography, actionable GI science. Yesterday, we heard in one of the sessions about actionable data. So there's a direct linkage. Actionable data, actionable cartography, actionable GI science. We're faced with so many different challenges, beginning with climate change. If we're not all worried about climate change, we better wake up. If we are not worried about political uncertainty, we should be concerned about that. And these are ways that we can address some of those topics. Actionable work that we do. And this is just a graphic to show the value of some of these different components. And at the end of the day, mapping helps make it more simple, more easily understood, sends a message. It's about communicating. That's what cartography is about. It's about communication and how well we can do that. This is a diagram put together by the United Nations centered around Sustainable Development Goals, but really it's the challenge of national mapping and national geospatial organizations. This is what they're facing. And there's one column of information, geodetic positioning, elevation, topography, and so forth. That's been their domain. That was their exclusive domain and their only responsibility. Those days are done. They're past us. They need to step up and accept all of these other data types and be able to react to them and to align with them. So through the United Nations and the ICA, we're working with national mapping organizations to make the case for this. And we're making good progress. But I think that you should just be aware of that. Information, even the most basic information sometimes is complicated, but that's what we are good at. We're good at making it more simplified, more easily understood. We do the things that are necessary and working with some complex data to make it understandable, to make it information instead of just data, understandable information. That's what we do. We're really good at this. And so we're needed. And I would suggest that you continue the good work that you're doing. In that light, following on the messages that we heard from both Jack and Clint about ethics in cartography, the ICA, as an international society, we took it upon ourselves to be a responsible society as an international body to take on the role of trying to coordinate and have a place, a common place where what we work on in regard to ethics is, it has a common place, has a common location. So the ICA created a working group just in the last few months, led by the United States under the direction of Aileen Buckley. And so that group will continue through and will likely be proposed as a commission next August at our General Assembly. And at that point, we'll continue the good work. So we're hoping that those of you who are interested in this topic, you'll be able to contribute to that information. So general thoughts on next steps. How do we as cartographers and GI scientists pivot to respond to the call for actionable cartography and actionable GI science? I am really challenging you on this. Think about everything that you're doing. Is it actionable? Is it helpful? Is it making a difference? That's what we need to be thinking about. And is there an alignment? There has to be an alignment between the ICA's research agenda, which is a continually evolving effort on our part, and not an easy one, so that we can contribute to solving real world problems. And I think the knowledge base within our organization, obviously within CAGIS, how is this being transferred to others, this valuable resource, this valuable information? So that's where we are, and I think that we should talk about that over the next few days. So we're mapping professionals, and we have much to contribute, and we need to show how much we can make a difference for our communities and our world. That's the challenge for us, and I welcome that challenge for all of us. So thank you for that, and we'll, at this point, move on to our International Cartographic Association Awards. This is an important thing for us, recognition, giving people recognition for doing what they do best. It's celebrating our successes, celebrating our people. This is an important thing. We can't leave that behind. We all work hard, but it's important to celebrate now and again, whether it be with a bottle of wine or whether it be with a certificate. It's all meaningful. The highest award from the International Cartographic Association is the Karl Mannerfelt Award, and this is a gold medal. Karl Mannerfelt was one of the founders of the International Cartographic Association back in 1959. And it honors cartographers for outstanding merit who've made significant contributions of an original nature to the field of cartography. It's awarded on rare occasions in order to emphasize its distinction. So just to put that into perspective, the last time this award was given was in 2016. The ICA Committee for the Selection of Award Recipients, and Lee is on that committee, she's here, makes the recommendations for consideration by the ICA Executive Committee to either accept or endorse or not endorse those recommendations. That's the medal. It is actually a medal, so that's what we have, and we decided to take a little picture of that. Thank you, Thomas. The Karl Mannerfelt Award was awarded to 2 people this year, and I'm going to need that description. So the first was Ulrich Freitag, and we gave this award in Florence at the 30th International Cartographic Conference in Florence, Italy in December of 2021. We met there physically. We had a hybrid conference, highly successful. Ulrich just celebrated his 90th birthday and arrived ready to go to accept the award. So it was really quite a special event. And he's been to at least one other event that we've had since then. He was at the AutoCarto, the equivalent of AutoCarto, in September of this year. So he's still as excited as ever and still working as productively as ever. And of course, the second award for the Mannerfeld Award is to Alan McEachran, who is here. And we are going to present this award to him in recognition of the great work that he's done. Okay. Thomas, can you join me up here? And Alan, can you come forward? This is Alan McEachran, for those of you who don't know.
You can tell I'm retired. I'm wearing the same clothes.
Humor is really important, isn't it? We asked that for each recipient of any award in the ICA, we would do a little write-up of them, and I'm going to read what Menno Jan Kroc has written on behalf of Alan McEachran's celebration. Dr. Alan McEachran is a professor of geography and affiliate professor of information science and technology at Penn State University. He's a founding director of the Penn State GeoVista Center, one of the premier research and design laboratories in cartography, geovisualization, and GI science in the United States. Alan is an internationally recognized leader in these areas, pioneering methods to interact and collaborate in real-time exploratory analysis and visualizations of geographic data. His early research in geographic representation and geovisualization coincided with the rise of visualization in the scientific community. Since the 1980s, he has helped guide the national and international development of geographic visualization within cartography and GI science to its current form as geovisual analytics, defined as the science of analytical reasoning facilitated by interactive geovisual interfaces. McEachran's book, How Maps Work, published in 1995, established a new cognitive semiotic basis for geographic visualization and cartography, providing a guiding theoretical foundation for cartography. At the same time, the discipline and profession were transitioning to interactive, online, and mobile media. His theoretical contributions to cartography remain central to contemporary scholarship in our discipline, and How Maps Work ranks among the most cited cartographic research texts to date. Alan was elected as a fellow of the American Association for Advancement of Science, the AAAS, in 2013, among the highest distinctions for a research scientist from any discipline made in the United States. Alan's contributions to the International Cartographic Association span more than a quarter century. In 1993, under his leadership, a visualization subgroup within the ICA Commission on Map and Spatial Data Use was formed. In 1995, a proposal for forming the ICA Commission on Visualization was ratified, and Alan became its chair. In 1999, the commission was renamed the Commission on Visualization and Virtual Environments, which he co-chaired with Menno Jan Kroc, former president, immediate past president of ICA, from 1995 to 2005. He has participated in nearly every ICC since 1989, and he has funded his students also to participate in these events and more broadly in other ICA activities as well. For example, as members and chairs of ICA commissions. The intellectual output from Alan McEachran's participation in ICA commissions is immense. Alan was able to bring together a range of international scholars and students to set the agenda for geovisualization and geovisual analytics. In an edited volume, Visualization in Modern Cartography, the Cartography Cube was introduced as an organizing framework of newly possible map uses in a digital environment. In 2001, in a special CAGIS issue on research agenda in geovisualization, possibilities for cartographic research in the 21st century were set out. Finally, Alan McEachran co-edited the volume Exploring Geovisualization in 2005, organizing 78 international scholars to address for for the first time many of the research gaps identified in the 2001 CAGES special issue. The impact of McEachran's team building efforts through these collaborative projects on the ICA community and cartography broadly cannot be overstated. Dr. McEachran was named an honorary fellow of the ICA in 2005, but the scope, the impact of his scientific contributions to cartography and GI science bring the ICA to award him the most coveted Mannerfelt Medal. Congratulations, Alan. This is that medal that I showed a nice big picture of. And there you go, Alan. Congratulations.
And it comes with a certificate as well.
And here's the certificate.
Thank you.
There we go. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm not going to take time. That was a long speech. And for those who want to hear my acceptance, which was given virtually back in December of last year, it's still online on the ICA website. So enjoy that. And I thank Thomas and Tim for being here to give it to me in person today. Thanks.
Thank you, Alan.
Right.
So Thomas, do you want to
Sure.
take the next part?
Not before I have the certificates. Is that the next one? This is. It's not a.
That's CAGES words.
Okay, there we go. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to AutoCarto. It's my first time here, first time to AutoCarto. Thank you, Eileen. And I've seen we have the same birth year, me and AutoCarto, so I'll probably come again. Not to forget, before I start with the next point, because I love statistics, and the Mannerfelt Award is really a rare award. There's 15 medals only that has been given to cartographers in more than 60 years of the history of ICA, and 4 of them went to the United States, so 4 out of 15. This is number 1 on our table, and Switzerland is second, and the Netherlands, just to mention that, with 2 medals each. So this is really rare. We hand it out every 8 years, maybe 10 years. So I just wanted to mention that so that you can rank it in other awards. And another point, you showed the books, the ICA books. If anyone wants to have printed copies, you can give me your card during the conference. I can send both of those books to you by mail. It will take some time now with the COVID restrictions from Europe to here, but I can send you those books because I have still a lot of copies in my apartment, which is the ICA office at the moment. So if I can get rid of some of them, please, you're welcome. And let me know your addresses. Okay, ICA Scholarship Award is the next one. Maybe not the least important award that ICA has, so it is not about achievements in the past. It is about achievements that might happen in the future. That's about an investment we do. We invest in young people, young scientists, professionals who have their career still before them. So we support them to contribute to conferences, come to conferences all over the world. This is for international cartographic conferences and regional cartographic conferences, like we had EuroCarto and AutoCarto now. Sometimes also for workshops, when there's commission workshops. You see the numbers at the bottom. We awarded just this term, the term is 4 years, this period, we awarded 25 in Florence. So we supported 25 people to come in person to that conference. That's 10% of the participants who were there. We supported 30 in Vienna, which was a lot. And we also support, people, young people, scientists to come here to Redlands. There are 9 altogether, and I hope they're all here, because I want to read out your names and come to the stage, to the front, to make it more lively and also to take a nice picture and that everybody sees you. So I read out the names, and I'd be very happy if you come down here. And Tim Trainer will give you the certificates, will give you the scholarship award, and yeah, we'll take a picture in the end of all of us. So let me start. First is Yanan Wu. Is Yanan here? No, she's here. We've met, yeah, please. We've met in Florence already. I just read out the names so you can prepare and get done. Yalin Yang. Good. Our third awardee is Yu Hao Kang. Our fourth, Gunjan Barua.
Oh, yes.
Then Kwang Il Yo.
Well done. We have another one.
Yes, those two. Great. Ho Yun Kwon. Malak Alasli. She is one of the, she's the only one who came from Europe with me to AutoCarto. So she'll be happy to receive that scholarship. And we have Mai Tu Tran. I've met you before. I know you were here.
Congratulations.
And Yui
Well
Lin.
done.
Yui Lin, are you here? Yes, she's here. Okay, so all are here. That's great. Yes.
Okay. Congratulations. Oh, I'll stand on this side.
Okay, congratulations to all of you again. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy the conference.
In the interest of diversity, you'll notice that there are more women than men on this stage receiving these awards. And I think that's also a positive influence on the ICA. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay. Good.
So it's my job to introduce the next presenter. Is that correct? So I think so. Do you want to talk about
Yeah,
2025?
I can.
Yes. Yes.
I made the slides, so I can do that. Because it's not yet online, we'll put that online in a few days. But we announced the ICE. No,
No, we've missed.
you missed one.
23.
23. That's 25, the animation.
Yeah. Okay.
You want me to say something on 23 as well, or do we?
I would just mention it, and then we'll actually have something at the closing ceremony, I think, so. Yeah.
Okay. So about 23, we'll have a presentation at the closing ceremony for the ICC, the International Cartographic Conference. I met someone from South Africa this morning. She's also here doing, having a stand out there and giving promotional materials. Cape Town is the location for 23. Yeah, and you're all very, very much invited to come to Cape Town next year. And you'll hear more the next days, and then certainly at the closing conference. My point was announcing the location for 25. We did that in Vienna already, but not everyone has been to Vienna who's here in the room. So I might announce that again because it's a bit closer for you where we go in 25. We'll fly from wherever you want to Canada. So the ICC 25 will be in Vancouver. I think at the convention center right at the harbor. Very nice place. I've been there once. Yeah, so welcome, bienvenue à Vancouver. And these are the dates. It's in the middle of the summer. You can already reserve those dates a wonderful week full of maps and cartography in July, August 25. And we will soon decide on 27 when we have the General Assembly in Cape Town next year. This will be somewhere else in the world, probably not Canada. Okay, this is all from my side.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Okay, next, thank you very much, representatives from the ICA, because as they noted, this conference is integrally associated with the ICA. And so thank you for coming, and thank you for Alan for coming all the way this way as well. But now we'd like to hear from Cages about a few things, including some of the awards that they have to give out.
All right, good morning, everybody. Hi, I'm Tom Pingle. I'm the immediate past president of CAGES. I'm here today filling in for Dan Cole, the president, who couldn't be here today. He's recovering. It's my privilege to have the opportunity to award several individuals with the CAGES Distinguished Career Award. It's been a number of years since we've been able to be together in person, and so we have a few awardees that I would like to celebrate. The eligibility for the CAGES Distinguished Career Award is as follows. Nominees must have contributed to research, teaching, service, government, and/or commercial developments in cartography, GIS, and/or GI science. Their contributions may extend over a period of several decades, but should also include evidence of active work in the last 10 years. But the nominee does not need to be an active member of CAGES. So the first person I would like to recognize today is Terry Slocum. Thank you. Dr. Slocum was awarded the Distinguished Career Award in 2020. He was a dedicated teacher and mentor at the University of Kansas. He received 2 Teacher Appreciation Awards from the Center for Teaching Excellence at KU. And his courses and seminars covered topics included quantitative and cognitive cartography, as well as geographic visualization. Professor Slocum's research interests are numerous and have included visualizing data uncertainty, data exploration, map animation, stereoscopic displays, history of thematic mapping, and the use of color. He's the lead author of Thematic Cartography and Geovisualization, and I see the 4th edition is now out. So very nice. And he's been awarded, and he's been involved in CAGES for many years, including a term as editor of the Journal of Cartography and Geographic Information Science from 1999 to 2002, and as an officer and CAGES president from 2012 to 13. So let's all please give a warm round of applause for Terry Slocum. Congratulations. Absolutely, please.
This award would not have been possible without the assistance of many people. First, I'd like to thank my advisors, Mike Dobson at SUNY at Albany and George Jenks at the University of Kansas. I thank Mike for introducing me to the discipline of cartography and George for serving as a model for how teaching and research should be conducted. I also thank the numerous students and faculty who co-authored publications with me. I would especially like to thank Bob McMaster, Fritz Kessler, and Hugh Howard for their work on the textbook Thematic Cartography and Geovisualization. Finally, I'd like to thank my parents, Richard and Corrine Slocum, who were huge education proponents. They both worked on college degrees later in life and thus served as a model for me. They would truly appreciate this. Thank you. Take one.
All right, next I'd like to recognize Carrie Cron, who was also awarded the CAGES Distinguished Career Award in 2020. Carrie is well recognized for her contributions to cartography, serving as director of the National Geospatial Technical Operations Center, where she guided the development of the national map and the design, development, and the production of US Topo, the modern digital topographic map of the United States. She received the prestigious Henry Gannett Award from the USGS for her contributions to this new generation of topographic maps, and the Department of Interior's Distinguished Service Award from then Director Sally Jewell. She supported the community in CAGIS by serving as CAGIS president from 2011 to 12 and as treasurer for these past many years until taking on the role of executive director earlier this year. So let's all please give a warm round of applause to Carrie Cron.
Well, thank you, Tom. And I just want to take a minute to say thank you to CAGIS. It's a great organization, if I do say so myself. So I'm really glad to see you all here today. I like to look forward. So it's great to have received this award for my distinguished career so far. But I am very much looking forward to working with all of you as CAGIS Executive Director. I do want to acknowledge and thank my colleague, Dr. Lynn Ursery. Lynn, as you all probably know, was a very active participant in both CAGIS and ICA. And he was certainly a mentor for me and led me into the world of CAGIS and working with all of you. So just want to acknowledge his role in guiding me here. So again, thank you all, and thanks to CAGIS for this wonderful award.
Right. This year, the Distinguished Career Award is given to Alan McEachran. Alan's innovative contributions to cartography and GI science have spanned decades, and his early research in geographic representation and geovisualization coincided with the rise of scientific visualization. His book, How Maps Work, was published in 1995 and ranks among the most highly cited cartographic research texts. He's the recipient of numerous prestigious awards from the American Congress on Surveying and Mapping, the American Association of Geographers, the Canadian Cartographic Association, and many others. And as we've just seen, he was just awarded the Karl Mannerfeld Gold Medal by the International Cartography Association. Dr. McEachran's contributions can perhaps be neatly summarized in the statement from Dr. Mark Geoghegan. It would not be overstating the case to say that he has almost single-handedly moved the field of cartography forward into the computer age, and in doing so, pioneered the entire field of geovisualization, being the first among his peers to truly embrace exploratory information visualization, immersive reality, multimodal interfaces, collaborative virtual environments, crisis management systems, and most laterally, visual analytics, to name but some of his achievements. Let's all please give a warm round of applause to Alan McEachran.
Thank you. So, this time I will say a couple of things. Seeing this as a new award, and fun to be here getting one same time Terry is, because Terry and I were grad students together. If he hadn't beaten me out for the Kansas job, who knows how our careers might have turned out differently. Anyway, I'm really pleased to receive this recognition, and particularly to be able to do it in person here at an AutoCarto meeting. AutoCarto meetings, as Aileen talked about, have a long history, and I went to a lot of them early in my career, and they had a big impact on some of the development of my ideas at that point in time. As you know, my career's a really long one, as you've heard, going from pen and paper all the way through big data and AI and beyond. So there are a lot of reasons for any success that I might have had, but a lot of it has to do with roots, and I wanted to take the chance to thank my mentors, which were Hugh Bloomer, my undergrad advisor at Ohio University, and then George McCleary at the University of Kansas, who both had a big impact on the development of my early ideas, and George Jenks also at the University of Kansas, who was on my committee. We often got into arguments together, and he was the one that suggested to Penn State that they invite me to apply there, and that had a lot to do with my long-term career. The big impact on everyone's career in academics, I think, is their students. And so I'm not going to name names, but I want to thank the very large number of students that I've interacted with over a long number of years, because most of what I've done wouldn't have been possible without them. And with that in mind, just want to end by pointing out that I'm a bit disappointed to see that cartography isn't in the name of very many courses, at least in US universities anymore. But I'm excited by all the developments in cartography that we're seeing today, many of which that we've heard about. And particularly, I'm quite interested now in our turn toward ethics, which is a theme of this conference. And I really liked Tim's actionable cartography. And so I want to encourage all of the students who are here or listening virtually to really take on board some of these ideas, take advantage of change, because your whole career is going to involve change, and look toward the future and where the technology and society takes us to have a great career of your own. Thanks.
So finally, Cages would like to honor one of our members and editor of the Cages Journal from 2014 to 2020, Nick Krisman. So Eric Delmel, who succeeded Nick as the editor, had planned to present this award but couldn't be here today, but he asked me to read a few words about Nick's many contributions. So I'd like to heartily thank Dr. Nick Krisman for his service to our field of cartography and GI science and editorship. In fact, I do not know Nick very personally, with the exception of meeting him at Cages Society board meetings and many Zoom meetings to get up to speed with the journal. But in fact, that's not true. Early on, back in 1997, when I was exposed to my first GIS class with Dr. Frank Cantors, a current associate editor, we were reading articles by Nick on generalization and cartographic modeling. So early on, Nick stood by GIS giants, and I was exposed to his work. Fast forward 25 years later to 2022, I've interacted with Nick for 3 years now, side by side. He showed me how to navigate the ropes of being an editor of a journal that was dear to his heart. He stayed longer as editor until he felt confident that a new editor could possibly handle it. I'm grateful that he has trusted me in that position, but his shoes are so hard to fill. Nick was a very critical reviewer and editor, making sure that each paper submitted to the journal would make a contribution. He's always been very laser focused and fought for the well-being of the Cages Society. Nick has made sure that the journal kept its niche, which has been increasingly difficult with the new journals and existing ones. But we've had a legacy that he and many others have worked hard to build, and we will continue to make it stronger. And I know I can count on Nick for his advice and guidance. So let's all please give a warm round of applause for Nick Krisman, and we'd like to give him this gift in gratitude for his service these many years. It's got some heft to it.
I've always taught cartography with the tangible crop. I used the massive wall map collection that I inherited from John Sherman and the predecessors at the University of Washington, and sadly that wall map collection has dissipated. I have only one left over that I reported in the International Journal of Cartography, the curiosity of a map of the forests of France shown with two different techniques, one of the polygons of the forests of France, and then one of the proportion of forests by département of France as a choropleth map. And you wonder, why would you do this? But you needed a GIS to do it in 1923. And so that was the kind of thing that cartographers were doing at the time. So someone has wrapped this up in a way that we won't be able to get to very quickly, but my skills at map origami have been well known in the field. So we're going to have to do the map origami. Yes. Oh my God, we've wrapped it and double wrapped it. I'm going to be able to get this back here. What do we got? Oh, it includes another one. Oh.
So while this conference is called AutoCarto, this map was drawn entirely by hand over the course of a number of years by our colleague, Anton Thomas, I wanted to say Tom, Anton Thomas. So it is a gorgeous piece of work, hand-drawn.
So my first academic paper published in a peer-reviewed journal was in the second volume of the American Cartographer, now the Cartography and GI Science journal. And it's still getting cited. This is the proof that the impact factors of an academic career are not counted correctly when they're counted on just 2 years of citation. When you get these things that keep on coming, people come back to your work, largely to say that it was incomplete. I'm perfectly willing to understand that everything that I wrote with Tom Poiker in 1975 was a limited vision of what we needed to do, but it did set us on a path towards a few things. Unlike Alan, I have worked exclusively on the computer, and that's why it's apt to give me a hand-produced map. It's a little bit of a challenge to this. I figured out that every paper that I wrote, with the exception of one, I wrote on the computer. I typed it in from 1974 forward. The one paper was because Brian Barry thought that I should use the secretaries to do the typing for me, and that was not really a very happy arrangement. So I learned about publication through the community that we are all part of. And being editor requires all of you, because hidden behind the editor are the reviewers. And all of you are needed as part of this community to keep the publication world connected and working together. When I left the United States to work in Canada, when I left the United States to work in Canada, I was director of a network of centers of excellence. And I learned there a lot more about how we rely on each other. Yes, my career has been solo publication kinds of things. I have not been a team player. Every moment I have been known as critic. But the critics are sometimes the best reviewers to analyze what that the rest of us have been doing. And I thank you very much for your award. And I plan on staying connected and being a service to the organization and to the community to the best of my abilities. Thank you.
Number of folks acknowledge the role of students in their professional careers, but I want to take a minute to acknowledge the role of students in this conference. We were fortunate to be able to grant 10 student assistantships, and you'll find these folks, you saw some of them down here earlier already with the ICA scholarships, but those of you that are in this room, go ahead and stand up, student assistants. You'll recognize them by their orange lanyards. Come on, stand up, stand up. Yeah. They have already been running around on workshop day, doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes to make things run smoothly, and they'll be helping us out the rest of the week. And you know, we'll acknowledge them again in the closing ceremony. But I wanted to take a minute so that you could all find them. So if you need something during this conference, find one of the orange lanyard folks, and they will find you the person that needs to help you out. All right? Thanks.
So now we're going to hear about the technical program from Angela and Marguerite. Marguerite, unfortunately, she's our conference program co-chair. She is unfortunately not able to join us in person either. She will be remote. And so we will hear from her, but we'll let Angela kick it off.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Advance
Margaret,
it
I
here.
think she's online. She's there, right? Oh no, this is Margaret's.
Okay. Jolt, I think we can hear from Marguerite now.
Thank you. I am here. Can you hear me? Hi, everybody. So I'm really sorry I can't be there in person, but I'm thankful to Esri for patching me in virtually. I want to introduce very briefly the technical program. And I just wonder, should I share my screen or will I see slides? Oh, thank you. Great. I think there's a slide before this. Well, that's okay. Wanted to say, Angela Yao and I are colleagues in the Department of Geography at the University of Georgia. And we're also the co-chairs of the technical program. So we had a great time helping to come up with the theme of the conference and descriptions, and also putting together the keynote plenary sessions, and inviting the keynote speakers and also the panelists. So Angela's there in person, so I'm really happy she can, if you have any questions, you know, she's there to help you. Next slide. I will just briefly mention the members of each of the plenary sessions. When we have the plenaries, we will be giving a more complete bio. But the first plenary, which will follow your break, is Ethics and Mapping with a focus on inclusion. And Christine Lekasovich will be the keynote speaker. She's the executive director of Native Land Digital, among many other things we'll be telling you about. And then a distinguished panel. So Dr. Fraser Taylor from Carleton University, Vanessa Knoke Wetzel, and she is right now the executive director of NASICS, and also Reginald Archer, and he's from Tennessee State University. Next slide. So our second panel plenary, which will be tomorrow on Thursday, is Ethics and Mapping with a focus on integrity. So Lu Jun Ming from the Technical University of Munich will be our keynote speaker. I should have just mentioned the format. Our keynote speakers will have about 25 minutes with a few minutes for questions. And then that'll be followed by 30 minutes. Each of the panelists will have about 10 minutes to give a presentation. And the final 30 minutes will be some panel discussions. We're providing them with some questions, and some questions might come up as we go along with the discussions. So Nadine Alma, who is the CEO of the Open Geospatial Consortium, is one of our panelists. David Paget, who's also from Tennessee State University, and Bo Zhao from the University of Washington. Next slide. Our third plenary on Friday, our last day, Chiselyn Nelson was a keynote speaker, and she's from the University of California, Santa Barbara. Sam Stale from the U.S. Department of State. Clinton Johnston, and he is here with you at Esri, and Matt Hauer, who's with Florida State University. Next slide. So some of the statistics about the technical program were mentioned, but we have 11 different technical paper sessions, and I know you have information, you've seen it on the web of each of those topics. I just wanted to highlight session 12. That is a student special session, Success in Empowering Social Goods with Cartography and GI Science. That'll be a panel discussion. And then session 13, these will be the posters, and they will be displayed today during the morning and the afternoon networking breaks. So I hope you take time to peruse the posters and talk to the authors. That's a great opportunity for poster authors to interact with the participants. Next slide. And just finally, I really hope you enjoy the conference and the technical program. It's a chance to, I like Jack's terminology, to intentionally connect and engage with each other with great discussion. And I would just say, ask yourself throughout the conference, what am I doing to contribute to and promote and really have action in ethics and mapping, thinking about all inclusion, integrity, and empathy. So thank you. I look forward to participating.
Thanks, Marguerite. So great to hear from you. And now Angela's going to talk. Oh, no, she's not going to talk. Okay, never mind. Angela's not going to talk. But we do, okay. So we're here on the Esri campus, and we thought you guys might want to take advantage of some things that would be of interest to you. So we are going to offer a couple of activities that relate to our hands-on learning labs and our Geo Experience Center. So Nikki's going to tell you a little bit about the hands-on learning labs.
Hello, good morning. My name is Nikki Wong. I'm a product engineer here at Esri, and I am here this morning to share with you all a little bit about the hands-on learning lab that we have for this conference, and just invite you to take advantage of it. It's a really great opportunity to really try out some software, maybe gain some new skills you didn't have before. If you're anything like me, the best way I learn software, new software especially, is to really just try it out, actually click around, and even better if there's an easy to follow guide that walks me through all of the software features I ought to know. And that's exactly what the hands-on learning lab is. So it's just this dedicated space for you to take free lessons on a variety of GIS and ArcGIS topics. They're all self-paced, so you can go as fast or slow as you want, complete some of it or all of it. They all include short videos on GIS and software concepts. The laptops, software, login credentials, I even saw they had headphones that you can borrow, are all provided and in that room for you. And my colleague Cheyenne will be there the whole time to support and answer any questions you might have as you're going through the lesson. There's a total of 26 different lessons you can choose from, but especially for this conference, we actually highlighted a handful of the lessons that might be of particular interest to you around the conference theme of integrity, inclusion, and empathy. I especially want to highlight the one lesson we have called Improve Newborn Health. We'll get you started on how to apply a racial equity workflow to GIS. So be sure to check out Cheyenne's list if that's of interest to you. The hands-on learning lab is here in this building. It's just, when you come out of these doors, it's right on the left. There's a huge banner that says hands-on learning lab. You can't miss it. It's going to be open today and tomorrow from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then on Friday, it'll be open from 7:30 a.m. till 3 p.m. So yeah, we just hope you take advantage of the hands-on learning lab and get a chance to gain some GIS skills. And yeah, thanks. Hope to see you there.
Eileen, you were asking for technical skills I might not have here. Advancing the slides. Oh, it did work. My name is Thomas Emge, and I'm part of the team which is called the Geo Experience Center. And I very much like, kind of like following Nikki's presentation here for the hands-on lab, as our space is usually the one where getting people out of the boring conference room and away from PowerPoints and really have them experience, or as I'd like to say, play with our software. So we do have our Experience Center open as an open house during lunchtime from 12:30 to 1:30. I think we might have a sign-up sheet, but with, thank you, a sign-up sheet at the register, but also in the context of just enjoy, collaborate, and interact with each other. As soon as the doors are open, please do come in. We do have a selection of demos prepared for you, but all of the presenters are expert in their respective fields, so we'll entertain any sort of question for ArcGIS Online, the Living Atlas, Geo AI, machine learning, immersive experiences, augmented reality, policy mapping. So there's a whole variety, and if you just want to hang out after lunch or before lunch, you're very much welcome. The place to look for is on the east side of the building. Go for the colored lights with big pillars that are saying Geo Experience Center. It'll be hard to miss. Thank you.
Great. So there's another announcement I have to make, which is about something that Esri is offering to all of you, both virtual participants and in-person participants. In-person participants, you are welcome to help yourself to a book that's out here near the registration desk, and it's called GIS for Science, and it's volume 2 of a 3-volume series. And for all participants, we're also offering you access to our ebook on GIS and science, GIS for Science. And that ebook is a gorgeous piece of work that allows you to just flip through the pages and access the information. This is a beautiful new way that Esri is sharing information with our interested parties. And thank you, Clint, because his team was responsible for putting this together. So there are flyers that indicate the URL to get to the flipbook. For the virtual participants, I'll be sending that out to you, so you each have that. And then for the in-person participants, again, feel free to pick up one of the books by the registration desk and one of the flyers that indicates the URL to the flipbook. And thank you, Clint, and your team for making that available to everybody at the entire conference. Oh, I can't get out of this. I'm just flipping and flipping. What's going on? It's a good book. We'll just keep staying in there. I can't get out of it. Okay, well, while you're looking at, let's find a beautiful map that you can see. There, okay, while this is showing. I just had a few last remarks, and these are mostly housekeeping items. Okay, so just as a reminder, you're here on the Esri campus. We have a hands-on learning lab that way, Geo Experience Center that way, and you can look for Thomas and Nikki. Restrooms are in the lobby area, underneath the stairs, behind the plants. We kind of hide them, don't we? So back in there, there's the restrooms. The break is going to be held in the lobby area. There's food during the breaks, and also mornings before the sessions start. And then we also have our sponsors out there. They have some tables. They'll be there for the first 2 days of the conference. That'll be today and tomorrow. So meet up with the sponsors, look at their materials, and try to meet up with the folks that are representing those organizations. We also have some student posters that are here along the back of the auditorium. Take a look at those. They are going to be up for today only. During the breaks, lunch, try and get a chance to take a look at those, and the students will be located near their posters. And finally, I just want to thank you all. I know our time is precious. I know traveling is more difficult these days. Goodness knows, so many of you were able to get here, thankfully, but late. And it's really important to recognize what you guys bring to this conference. You're the ones who are making this conference a success. Your contributions in the paper sessions, in the poster sessions, as sponsors, as keynotes, as people presenting in our opening session, who we'll hear in our closing sessions, that is all you. And so I want to thank you. And let's take a break. Thank you.